Unfrosted tells the story of the creation of the Pop-Tart by Jerry Seinfeld on Netflix. So today, let's see if this film is worth your time. Hey everybody, my name's Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services like Netflix. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up-and-coming content. In 1963, Kellogg's and Post, sworn cereal rivals, raced to create a pastry that will change the face of breakfast forever. So this is directed by Jerry Seinfeld. He also stars in this film. In the beginning of this movie, he's telling the story of the Pop-Tart to a young kid at a diner, and the kid doesn't have any interest in it, and he tells him it's going to be a very simple story. And the film ends up being a simple story of the creation of the Pop-Tart, but it's filled with so much nonsense and cameos. And this is a comedy that at times is very bizarre. It reminds me a lot of the Weird Al Yankovic story starring Daniel Radcliffe, where you take a story that seems pretty crazy and just do a bunch of bizarre things with it that makes no sense whatsoever. Unfrosted at times is pretty funny. Unfrosted at times is jam-packed. Unfrosted at times doesn't work. It's all over the place. This is a story that, like I said, is quite simple. You have this rival between Kellogg's and Post, and they're trying to create the next face of breakfast, the next big thing, and that comes with the Pop-Tart. But what you have filled in through all of that is so many cameos, so many different things going on. That times is just driving me crazy with how much is actually happening within the story, despite Jerry Seinfeld telling this young boy in the beginning that's a simple story. So many people show up in this film, like Jim Gaffigan, Bill Burr, Christian Slater, Peter Dinklage, Dan Levy, James Marsden, Jack McBrayer, John Hamm, Fred Armisen, Tony Held, Cedric the Entertainer. The list goes on of people that appear in this film as people involved with Kellogg's or Post, Quaker Oats, Snap, Crackle, and Pop, Tony the Tiger, mascots for cereals. They just jam-packed this movie with characters, and at times it just goes in this really just bizarre direction when it comes to characters that are involved, like Chef Boyardee, that I just couldn't believe actually happened within this film. What Jerry Seinfeld is able to do well is he's able to balance an actual story involving the Pop-Tart, telling a coherent story of its development and trying to compete with the rivals and create the next big breakfast thing. You actually have a storyline that is developing throughout, and that's what I was invested in, is seeing how Jerry Seinfeld and Melissa McCarthy were going up against Amy Schumer and creating this Pop-Tart. But when you get to the comedy, that's where it feels like it's not so much pertaining to the creation of the Pop-Tart. It's where you have like all this side junk going on. And that's where you have all these cameos, all these mascots coming in. And that's where you have all this ridiculous humor. So Jerry Seinfeld is able to balance giving us a really coherent story, a nicely developed story about the Pop-Tart. But on the other hand, you have all this comedy that's filling in the runtime because he says it's such a simple story that you have so much going on that it doesn't feel like it is a simple story. And there are a lot of times I did laugh. There was a good amount of jokes within this film, and a lot of people that are known for comedic backgrounds, when you get them all together and you have a small cameo, they're just there to deliver something funny. And I did get a lot of jokes. I laughed quite often within this film. But then there was times where it just felt like it was repetitive and just a little bit over the top and ridiculous to the point where I didn't find it to be all that funny. Mostly in pertaining to Chef Boyardee and his little creation to try to help out the Pop-Tart. It was stupid and it just got old quick. And that's what a lot of the jokes feel like as we are slowing down on the story of the Pop-Tart, you have more and more jokes in a row to fill in that runtime. And while some of them are funny, it just seemed to go on for way too long. And then it wasn't funny. It got annoying quick. And I wanted to just kind of get back to the study of the Pop-Tart, the creation, seeing what young kids wanted out of a breakfast, how they were going to compete with the rivals and get sugar and all of the things that they needed to make this Pop-Tart. I found that to be interesting, but the more that we got of the jokes, the more it moved away from the story. And I really like Jerry Seinfeld in here as well. He felt like he was just like, it was like a mockery of breakfast cereal, but also taking his role serious as well. I like what he did offer in terms of directing, but also starring within this film. Melissa McCarthy, I felt like she was good in the film as well. She took it more seriously, and I really liked her within here. Amy Schumer was really over the top, like this villain within the story trying to create the first Pop-Tart. And all the cameos, I like seeing a lot of people in here and seeing like Snap, Crackle, and Pop, and Hugh Grant as Tony the Tiger. While it was ridiculous, I did enjoy it briefly within this movie. Unfrosted is just really all over the place. You have a simple story of the Pop-Tart, and I didn't think a story of the Pop-Tart would be as wild as this movie was. But you get so many cameos, so many jokes, so many bizarre storylines that are happening in here. It really takes away from what it's trying to accomplish in telling the story of the Pop-Tart. And for most of it, it just seems like it's a joke. For most of it, it just seems like it's a mockery of breakfast and how ridiculous a story of cereal rivals and trying to create the Pop-Tart would be. So I do think a lot of the filmmaking behind it does understand how stupid the story is and just is trying to be like a spoof and just something really over the top. Like I said, that Daniel Radcliffe, Weird Al Yankovic story, it did a bunch of stupid, weird, bizarre things with it, and I absolutely love that film. But with this movie, it did it just a little too much, and it became... But with this film, it did a little too much and became a little bit repetitive. But overall, Unfrosted, I liked seeing the story. I don't know how much of it actually is true. I have really no interest in researching all of that, but I'm sure a lot of it is just made up and really stupid. But I'm sure a lot of it is just made up to be a mockery of breakfast cereal. But there is a good amount of laughs in here, and the cameos are pretty entertaining as well. And you do get a good story developing for the creation of the Pop-Tart. But when you start to just pile on cameo after cameo and joke after joke, you're kind of just forgetting the actual storyline within the film. So Unfrosted, at times it worked, at times it was just really crazy, and it kind of got old quick. But I liked the movie for what it was. I mean, it's not something I would watch again, but I could easily see people absolutely hate this movie. So before I give you my score for Unfrosted, make sure to check out my channel. Here I do movie reviews, trailer actions, ranking videos, tier lists, all that fun movie related content that you see on YouTube. I do it all here, so hit that subscribe button to get it all in one spot. And if you can see where Unfrosted ranks amongst all the other 2024 releases I've seen this year, follow me on Letterboxd, and there you can find my ranking. I'm going to go ahead and give Unfrosted a C+. Thank you guys for checking out my review for Unfrosted on Netflix. Have you guys seen it by chance? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Just Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.